Kia ora koutou and welcome to the Course Advice Planning session for the Matauranga Hauora, the Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences. My name is Silolo and today we're going to delve into the finer details of planning your degree within the Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences. In this session, we will cover keywords, first-year pathway programs, how the degrees are structured, and how to plan and enroll in your first year of the degrees we have on offer here. We will cover a lot and we welcome any and all questions. So please take note of the email address on this slide as it will allow you to contact myself and our team with any questions you have in the future. Before we move into some finer details, let's cover some common words used at university, particularly in the Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences that you might not have heard of yet. The first step is undergraduate. You might hear someone say undergraduate programs, undergraduate student, or undergraduate degree. All this means is before graduating from university. For example, at university, an undergraduate student is currently studying but has not graduated yet. After high school, a course is the subject or papers that you will take as part of your degree. So, in your first year of study, you usually take 4 courses per semester, 8 courses per year in total, if you are studying full-time. First Year Pathway Program. This is a title used to describe the pathways you can take before starting your clinical programs. For example, to be on the pathway to medicine, you need to be enrolled in one of the 2 first-year pathway programs, which we will outline later. All you need to remember is that the first-year pathway programs will take you into clinical programs. Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences is quite a mouthful, so FMHS is the acronym we use to refer to this. So if you hear someone say or use FMHS, Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences is what they're referring to. A bachelor degree is one of the levels that you can study at university and is the most common level that students will enter into after completing high school. There are other levels above and below this too. However, a bachelor's degree is usually a person's first degree. GPA stands for Grade Point Average, another acronym to remember. So your GPA is the average across all of your courses. For each course, you will get a final grade. We will then add all final grades and divide it by the number of courses to get your final GPA or grade point average. This is an important one to note, as many students aiming for clinical programs like medicine are aiming to get a good GPA to get a desired clinical program, and we'll talk more about this later. And finally, clinical programs. These are programs that lead you to clinical careers like a doctor, pharmacist, optometrist, or medical imaging technologist. Now let's look at the programs we have on offer at the undergraduate level at FMHS, Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences. Now, not all of these programs can be entered into after completing high school directly. We have 2 groups to look at. Health Sciences and Nursing can be entered into straight out of high school if you meet the requirements. However, Optometry, Pharmacy, Medical Imaging and Medicine cannot be started straight out of high school. We will dive into these pathways more later, but for now, let's discuss the ones you can enter into after completing high school. Now we're going to take a look at what the structure of a standard year at university looks like to give you an understanding of what to expect when you're planning your courses. So generally, a standard year of university will look like this. You're going to have 2 semesters with 8 courses for the whole year, 4 for each semester. Now most of our first year courses are worth 15 points, and you want to have 120 points across the year if you were studying full-time. So 8 courses equals 120 points. This is an important piece of information to know before we jump into planning, just so you can visualize what your first year of university might look like. Depending on which program you are planning for in your first year, your courses will look slightly different, but will also have some similarities. Whether you are aiming for a non-clinical pathway or a clinical pathway, it's important to pay close attention to the courses you are meant to take to ensure you are headed in the right direction, especially if you are aiming for our Year 2 clinical programs. The Bachelor of Health Sciences is a 3-year degree if you study full-time with 8 courses a year. Nearly 50% of people working in healthcare are in non-clinical fields, and the Bachelor of Health Science is a pathway to get you into one of those non-clinical yet healthcare-based roles, such as health promoter, policy analyst, health protection officer, community addictions counselor, and so many more roles. We have a range of conjoint options available for the Bachelor of Health Sciences. A conjoint degree is a combination of 2 bachelor degrees studied for a condensed amount of time. If you need help finding out what requirements you need to undertake and maintain a health science conjoint, speak with Student Hubs for more information. So let's now take a look at how this Bachelor of Health Science is structured. You can see here that you can break it down by years 1, 2, and 3, but we can also break it down by types of courses. These are the courses that you must take as part of this degree and do not get to choose because we've chosen them for you, and they will give you the essential knowledge required to pursue any of the aligned roles with this degree. The next type of course that you must complete as part of your degree is your Waipapa Taumataro course for Health Sciences. All first-year undergraduate students will take a Waipapa Taumataro course. Each faculty-based Waipapa Taumataro course focuses on understanding core knowledge relevant to that faculty, the significance of place-based knowledge, and te tiriti o Waitangi. You will develop foundational, critical, and ethical thinking, communication, and collaborative skills essential for success in your undergraduate study. For the Bachelor of Health Science, the Waipapa Taumataro course you will choose is WTR MHS 100. The next type of course is something you must tick off to gain your degree. In Year 1, you have an Academic Integrity course, and we recommend that you complete this course by the end of your first semester of study. Ultimately, this must be completed before you are able to graduate. It is not a course you enroll into, but a module that FMHS will assign to you. The next type of course is your Health Science elective courses. These are yours to choose, they just need to be from the Health Science elective choices. The next type of course is your General Education course, or your Gen Ed. These are courses that you get to choose from a specific list, and as an FMHS student, you can choose your general education from the open schedule or the engineering, medical health science schedule. There are a wide range of courses to choose from, as your general education come from many different faculties, and most of them being from outside of your faculty. This will give you a chance to explore something different in your degree. The last section of your degree we need to discuss is the remaining courses that you will take as part of your first year. If you are not aiming for medicine or pharmacy, you will choose Stage 1 elective courses from a specific group seen here in purple. However, if you are aiming for medicine or pharmacy, you will need to take very specific courses seen here in green. Now, this is very important. Those aiming for medicine and pharmacy, after completing their first year of their Bachelor of Health Science, must take these very specific courses, or they risk becoming ineligible to apply for their desired clinical programs after that year. Depending on which program you are planning for in your first year, your courses will look slightly different, but will also have some similarities. Whether you are aiming for a non-clinical pathway or a clinical pathway, it's important to pay close attention to the courses you are meant to take to ensure that you are headed in the right direction, especially if you are aiming for Year 2 clinical programs. So now let's run through what first year will look like specifically in terms of your course enrollment. If you're not aiming to enter into pharmacy or medicine after your first year in your Bachelor of Health Science, you should follow this enrollment plan. Firstly, we know that we need 8 courses for the whole year if we're studying full-time across 2 semesters. You can study part-time under a Bachelor of Health Science if you're not aiming for clinical, but for now, we'll just talk about full-time enrollment. From here, we know that we have specific compulsory courses for the first year in a Bachelor of Health Science that we must include, so let's add those in. And next, we need to include 3 Health Science Stage 1 electives. And finally, our Waipapa Taumataro course, which can only be taken in first semester. And that is what your first year enrollment plan should look like if you are pursuing a Bachelor of Health Science non-clinical plan. Now, if you're aiming for pharmacy or medicine and you're in your first year of your Bachelor of Health Science, it's going to look a little bit different for you because you are on a first year clinical pathway program. You're going to need to study all 8 required courses across semester 1 and 2 full-time. You cannot study part-time if you are aiming for pharmacy or medicine via this first year pathway. Firstly, you'll need to slot in the compulsory health science courses, so let's add those in. Next, instead of choosing health science electives, we are instead going to add in the compulsory clinical prep courses that you need for pharmacy and for medicine. And these are Population Health 111, BioSci 107, MedSci 142, and Chem 110. Now, Population 111 is considered a health science compulsory course, but in this case, it's now considered a clinical prep course. And finally, our Waipapa Taumataro course, and that is what your enrollment plan should look like if you are pursuing a Bachelor of Health Science clinical plan. You must take these courses in these spots, otherwise you will not be eligible to apply for pharmacy or medicine at the end of your first year. It's a good time to mention that not all courses are available across both semesters, so you need to be wary of this when planning any degree. Again, if you're aiming for pharmacy or medicine, please follow the plan that you see here and make sure to watch to the end of this presentation where we discuss clinical pathway applications and all you need to know about that. So next we're going to discuss the Bachelor of Nursing. This is a 3-year degree and can only be studied full-time. By the end of this degree, you'll be fully equipped to begin your nursing career as it encompasses vital in-class learning and plenty of practical experience. Our nursing program intake is 110 students per year, making it a much smaller and therefore supportive cohort. You will engage in 1,200 hours of hands-on experience, with the soonest being in your first year of study. So let's take a look at how the Bachelor of Nursing is structured. At first glance, you will see that there are no elective spots, and this is because the majority of your courses under a Bachelor of Nursing are compulsory nursing courses. Your first year of nursing consists of your compulsory nursing courses and compulsory clinical courses. And I just want to note here too that Nursing 199 is not a course you enroll in, it is an English language requirement that you need to tick off. You'll be given more info on how to tick this off once you enroll. As long as you tick off this requirement during your first year, you are sorted. You will need to take your Waipapa Taumataro course. For a Bachelor of Nursing, the Waipapa Taumataro course you will choose is WTR MHS 100. The next course is your Academic Integrity course. Again, just something you need to tick off to gain your degree. We recommend that you complete this course by the end of your first semester of study. You need to have completed it before you are able to graduate. And those are actually all the courses that you will need for your nursing degree. So one thing to point out here is that you do need to complete each part of the nursing degree before you move on to the next part. So in your first year, you will need to enroll in all your courses for Part 1 before you can move on to Part 2 and Year 2. Now let's run through what first year will look like as a Bachelor of Nursing student. Now we know what's required for a Bachelor of Nursing, we can now look at what we need for our first year of enrollment. We know that we need 8 courses or 120 points across the year. We also know that almost all of our nursing degree is made up of compulsory courses and is planned out for us. So let's add in our compulsory nursing courses. We also know that we will need to include your Waipapa Taumataro course, and you'll need to do this in your first year. So let's slot that in. And finally, we need to make sure that we tick off the Nursing 199 requirement before the end of our first year. Remember, you do not need to enroll in this course, you just need to meet the English language requirement to tick this off. You might have noticed that from the previous slide that Nursing 105 is worth 30 points instead of 15. It is one of our only first year courses that is worth 30 points. Now, if you're interested in studying medical imaging, medicine, optometry, or pharmacy, this next part is going to be very important for you. We are now going to move into discussing first year pathway programs that can lead you to our clinical programs, which are commonly referred to as our Year 2 programs. If you remember earlier in this presentation, one of our first year pathway programs via our Bachelor of Health Science can lead to medicine and pharmacy, as you can see here. You will apply for either medicine or pharmacy by the 1st of July 2026, and once accepted, start your Year 2 program in 2027. Another first year pathway program is via our Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science. You'll see here that a Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science first year pathway program can lead to medical imaging, medicine and surgery, optometry, and pharmacy, provided you have met the requirements. You will apply for these Year 2 clinical programs by the 1st of July, and once accepted, start your Year 2 program in 2027. You will notice that for medical imaging, optometry, and pharmacy, it lists or equivalent. That just means that there are other first year pathway programs via the Bachelor of Science that can satisfy the requirements for Year 2 clinical programs. This plan requires attention to detail in terms of major, specialization, and course selection. Your chosen major or specialization and course selection will need to satisfy the 8 required courses that are needed for Year 2 clinical programs. I suggest that if you would like more information on it, to please contact us via the email address in the first slide or reach out to Student Hubs, as it does require a bit more attention to plan out. Like I mentioned, if you're aiming for medical imaging, medicine, optometry, or pharmacy, you will need to complete our first year pathway program, either via our Bachelor of Health Science or via a Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science. Each first year pathway program has specific courses that are assigned to that program. As you can see here, these are the program-specific courses that sit under the Bachelor of Health Sciences, and here are the program-specific courses that sit under the Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science. No matter which first-year pathway program you end up taking, the courses listed under the common courses are the core clinical prep courses that you will need to take in your first year. The rest of your first year will be made up of these courses, which are specific to your pathway to Year 2 programs. For example, if your first year pathway program was a Bachelor of Health Science, aiming for pharmacy, you will take your 3 Stage 1 health science courses, Popo Health 101, Popo Health 102, Health Psych 122, and your Waipapa Taumataro course for health sciences, as well as the clinical prep courses in the common courses column. This information is very important, particularly the common courses column, which are your clinical prep courses. They are very important if you are aiming to get into a clinical program in Year 2. Now, if you are a student in a first year pathway program aiming for a clinical Year 2 program, this is important for you to note when selecting your Waipapa Taumataro course. If you are undertaking a Bachelor of Health Science, you will need to select WTR MHS 100 as your Waipapa Taumataro course. And if you are undertaking a Bachelor of Science specializing in biomed, you will need to select WTR SCI 100 as your Waipapa Taumataro course. If you're aiming for a second year clinical program, we now know that you must first complete a first year program either via a Bachelor of Health Science or a Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science. Now we're going to lay out exactly what your first year course plan should look like if you're aiming for a second year clinical program in medical imaging, medicine, optometry, or pharmacy. So now that we have a grasp on the basics of planning our first year pathway to clinical, let's look at specific examples and what those pathways are. The first year pathway program that we're going to look at is the one that will lead you to the Bachelor of Optometry. If you would like to be eligible to apply to start a Bachelor of Optometry in Year 2, you will need to be enrolled in either a Bachelor of Science, specializing in biomedical science, or a Bachelor of Science under any major or specialization. we encourage you to apply for both. It is important to note that if you will be applying for a Bachelor of Optometry via a Bachelor of Science under any major or specialization, your chosen major or specialization and course selection will need to satisfy the 8 required courses that are needed to get you into your Year 2 optometry program. For example, one specialization that satisfies these 8 course requirements is food science and nutrition. For more advice on this, please contact the email address at the beginning of this presentation on slide 1. Now for Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science and Bachelor of Science with any major or specialization, let's add our science courses we know we need. Next, we'll slot in our compulsory clinical courses and our Waipapa Taumataro for science. Now these are the courses that you will need to take whether you're enrolled in a Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science or a Bachelor of Science under any major or specialization. Regardless of which first year pathway program you are in, these are the courses you will need to take. We know that you can enter into our Bachelor of Optometry via our Bachelor of Science specializing in biomed or equivalent. By 1st of July during your first year of uni, you'll also need to submit your application for the Bachelor of Optometry and any other clinical programs you might want to be considered for, like medical imaging, medicine, and pharmacy. Many students will apply for all of them, and then when offers are sent out, they make their decisions. It's also a good idea to apply for multiple anyway, so that you have good backup options if you don't gain a spot in your preferred clinical program after the 1st of July. Applicants for any clinical programs may be invited, depending on their grades, to complete MMI, multiple mini interviews, as part of the application to any clinical programs they have applied for. Then once we have your MMI score and your final grades, we will send out offers for the Bachelor of Optometry and any other clinical programs in early to mid-December. Once you've completed your 4 years in optometry, graduates are eligible to register with the Optometrist and Dispensing Optician Board of New Zealand, allowing them to practice as optometrists. This timeline is very important to be aware of, and skipping any of these steps will result in you no longer being eligible to apply to enter into clinical programs in Year 2. Next up is our Bachelor of Pharmacy program. If you want to enter this program in Year 2, you need to be enrolled in either a Bachelor of Health Science or a Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science or equivalent. If you are in your first year of a Bachelor of Health Science, you need to follow this course plan. So let's add in the health science courses we know we need, followed by the clinical courses, and your Waipapa Taumataro for health sciences. Again, you must not deviate from this plan or you risk losing your eligibility to apply for pharmacy after Year 1. If you are in your first year of a Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science or equivalent, you need to follow this course plan. It's the same course plan for the optometry pathway. It includes compulsory science courses, your 4 clinical prep courses, and your Waipapa Taumataro course for science. A quick reminder here to make sure you take the appropriate Waipapa Taumataro course according to the first year pathway program you're enrolled in. If you take any of the pathways we've just talked about and enroll correctly as I've shown you here, you'll be eligible to apply for pharmacy during your first year. We know that you can enter into our Bachelor of Pharmacy either via our Bachelor of Health Science or our Bachelor of Science specializing in biomed or equivalent. Once you have accepted an offer into one of the pathways, you can enroll into your courses. By 1st of July during your first year of uni, you'll also need to submit your applications for the Bachelor of Pharmacy and any other clinical programs you might want to be considered for, like medical imaging, optometry, and medicine. Many students will apply for all of them, and then when offers are sent out, they make their decisions. It's also a good idea to apply for multiple anyway, so that you have good backup options if you don't gain a spot in your preferred clinical program after the 1st of July. Applicants for any clinical programs may be invited, depending on their grades, to complete MMI, multiple mini interviews, as part of the application to any clinical programs they have applied for. Then once we have your MMI score and your final grades, we will send out offers for the Bachelor of Pharmacy and any other clinical programs in early to mid-December. Once you've completed your 3 years in pharmacy and after you graduate, you will apply for internship registration with the Pharmacy Council of New Zealand. Complete 1 year paid internship as a provisional pharmacist, pass the New Zealand registration assessment, and will then be able to work as a pharmacist. This timeline is very important to be aware of, and skipping any of these steps will result in you no longer being eligible to apply to enter into clinical programs in Year 2. Bachelor of Medical Imaging Honours is another Year 2 program we have available. Our Bachelor of Medical Imaging is an integrated honours program, where if you complete the program, you will graduate with an honours degree instead of completing your bachelor's and then applying to study for honours afterwards. If you would like to be eligible to pursue this one, you will need to be enrolled in either a Bachelor of Science specialising in biomedical science or a Bachelor of Science under any major. Students aiming for this generally try to enter into medical imaging via the biomed pathway, but it's totally up to you. Again, important to note that if you will be applying for the Bachelor of Medical Imaging Honours via a Bachelor of Science under any major, your chosen major and course selection will need to satisfy the 8 required courses that are needed to get you into your Year 2 medical imaging program. Regardless of which first-year pathway program you are enrolled in, you will need to follow this plan for your first year. You'll need your compulsory science courses, your 4 clinical prep courses, and your Waipapa Taumataro course for science. And this is the course plan for a student aiming for a medical imaging Year 2 program. Again, if you want to take the Bachelor of Science with any major plan, you can always reach out to student hubs. We know now that you can enter into our Bachelor of Medical Imaging Honours via our Bachelor of Science, specialising in biomed or equivalent. Once you have accepted an offer into this pathway, you can enrol into your courses. By 1st of July during your first year of uni, you'll also need to submit your application for medical imaging and any other clinical programs you might want to be considered for, like pharmacy, optometry and medicine. Many students will apply for all of them, and then when offers are sent out, they make their decisions. It's also a good idea to apply for multiple anyway, so that you have good backup options if you don't gain a spot in your preferred clinical program. Applicants for any clinical programs may be invited, depending on their grades, to complete MMI, multiple mini interviews, as part of the application to any clinical programs they have applied for. Then once we have your MMI score and your final grades, we will send out offers for the Bachelor of Medical Imaging Honours and any other clinical programs in early to mid-December. Once you've completed your 3 years in medical imaging and after you graduate, you will be able to apply to the Medical Radiation Technologist Board to become a registered medical imaging technologist. And then you will be able to work as one, as well as at further specialist training and exams. This timeline is very important to be aware of, and skipping any of these steps may result in you no longer being eligible to apply to enter into clinical programs in Year 2. Our last clinical program you can begin in Year 2 and our most popular is the Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, otherwise known as MBCHB. Although it says medicine and surgery, it's just one degree that encompasses both and leads you to becoming a doctor. If you would like to aim for this degree, you will need to be enrolled in either a Bachelor of Health Science or a Bachelor of Science specialising in biomedical science, noting here that the Bachelor of Science in any major is not a pathway to medicine. Only these 2 pathways, Health Science and Biomed, will lead to medicine. If you are enrolled in a Bachelor of Science, you need to follow this plan. It includes your Health Science courses, your clinical prep courses, and your Waipapa Taumataro course for health sciences. Again, any deviation from this will lead to you no longer being eligible to apply for medicine after your first year. You must follow this plan if you are enrolled in a Bachelor of Health Science aiming for medicine. If you are enrolled in a Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science, you will need to follow this first year plan. It includes your science courses, your clinical prep courses, and your Waipapa Taumataro course for science. Any deviation from this will lead to you no longer being eligible to apply for medicine after first year. You must follow this plan if you are enrolled in a Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science and aiming for medicine. It's a good idea if you're aiming for medicine or any clinical programs that you do your enrollment and then get it checked over by our Student Hubs team, making sure to let them know that you are aiming for a clinical pathway for the MBCHB Bachelor. We're going to talk a little bit about the timeline of your first year of uni, as this plays a key role if you're aiming for Year 2 entry into medicine. Between now and the 8th of December, you can apply for the Bachelor of Health Science and or the Bachelor of Science specializing in biomedical science. We know now that you can enter into our Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery via two programs, our Bachelor of Health Science and our Bachelor of Science specializing in biomed. We do encourage you to submit applications for both, as they have different entry requirements, and if you don't get into one, you might get into the other. Once you have accepted an offer into one of the pathways, you can enroll into your courses. During your first year, you will need to sit a UCAT test in July. Please note that you will need to book this around May, and this is booked by a third party, so make sure you get onto that and know what you're doing before May. The earlier you get onto booking, the more likely you will get a test time that you're happy with. A UCAT is a clinical aptitude test that will test your verbal reasoning, decision-making, quantitative reasoning, abstract reasoning, and situational judgment. It is required that you sit this test and provide us with your test ID number as part of the admissions criteria for MBCHB. It is not required for pharmacy, optometry, or medical imaging. By the 1st of July, during your first year of uni, you'll also need to submit applications for medicine and surgery and any other clinical programs you might want to be considered for, like pharmacy, optometry, and medical imaging. Many students will apply for all of them, and then when offers are sent out, they make their decisions. It's also a good idea to apply for multiple anyway, so that you have a good backup options if you don't gain a medical seat after the 1st of July. Applicants for any clinical programs may be invited, depending on their grades, to complete MMI, multiple mini interviews, as part of the application to any clinical programs they have applied for, including MBCHB. Then once we have your UCAT score, your MMI score, and your final grades, we will send out offers for the MBCHB and any clinical programs in early to mid-December. Once you've completed your 5 years in medicine and surgery, you will then be required to complete 2 years as house officer at Te Whatuora, as well as further specialist training and exams. This timeline is very important to be aware of, and skipping any of these steps will result in you no longer being eligible to apply to enter into clinical programs in Year 2. Our programs are very competitive to get into and have limited spots open in 2026. You'll see here that these are the number of places available, so whichever program you're aiming for in 2026, it's good to keep that in mind. An important date for you to park in your memory is December 8th, 2025. You will need to submit your application towards the following programs listed: Bachelor of Health Science, Bachelor of Nursing, Bachelor of Science specializing in biomed, and Bachelor of Science. Like I've mentioned throughout this presentation, our Bachelor of Medical Imaging Honours, Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery, Bachelor of Optometry, and Bachelor of Pharmacy are not available for direct entry from school. You will need to apply for this in your first year of undergraduate study, and you will be advised of these confirmed dates in your first year. If you require additional support to help you enroll, there are a few ways to get help with this and teach yourself. Student Hubs is the physical gateway to the university and can support you through the enrollment process both in person and online. There is a Student Hubs at the City Campus, Grafton Campus, Taitonga Campus in South Auckland, and Taitokero in Whangarei. And our YouTube channel. is also a great source of helpful information, such as our How to Enroll video. I encourage you to use all the resources and support services available at your fingertips to make the application and enrollment process a smooth one. We don't expect you to memorize everything we've covered in this presentation, so one way you can stay in the loop with Waipapa Taumataro is by scanning this QR code and registering your interest. By doing so, you will sign up to receive personalized updates that align with your student journey and interests. And don't worry, we won't spam you either. If after watching this course advice presentation you still have questions, please don't hesitate to contact myself at SCET or our student hubs for more information. Now hopefully you feel equipped to plan out your first year and understand what is required for your chosen degree at the Matauranga Hauora, the Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences. Remember, FMHS. Thank you again for taking time to learn about this. Again, if you need help, you can reach out to the email address on this slide, or you can talk to Student Hubs. We can't wait to see you on campus. Mā te wā.